Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. I am your host, Shenell Felix. And guys, you know, whenever you see me sitting here, it's because we're about to have those conversations that you want to have while I ask those questions that you want asked. This morning, we jump straight ahead into our conversation, and I have the privilege this morning of sitting in studio and chatting with the newly minted Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, the Honourable Farley Chavez Augustine. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Good morning, Tobago. Good to be here.
Good morning. And I want to let Tobago know that you were here and you were waiting and already. And this is this Chief Secretary Farley Augustine 2.0 this morning that we're getting?
It's just a new season. And there's a season, I think, for accelerated transformation. It's a season for moving Tobago to new places, new heights, dizzying new heights. And that, of course, requires even more responsibility on my part. You know, there's a biblical concept that says, to whom much is given, much is expected. But beyond that, when you pray and ask God to enlarge your territory, and He enlarges your territory, it means that you now have enlarged responsibilities. And it can't just be the blessing that you enjoy, but one must appreciate and acknowledge and be accountable for the responsibilities that come along with the blessings.
Understood. Now, you know, jumping straight into it, this new season for you, what does that mean? Specifically seeing that you now have all 15 seats you have gained in the last Tobago House of Assembly elections, having more assemblymen, access to more human resources. Does that mean that frees up some of the things that you were tied to within your last tenure? And now we can see you being more accessible and continuing to be showing up on time and being there and ready to be with the people.
Well, a couple of things. Having all 15 seats is an awesome responsibility. It's awe-inspiring. It has challenges even in that. So I don't want people to think that there exists no challenge that will come upon us because we have won all 15 seats. But winning all 15 seats means that the mandate is even clearer. And not just winning the 15 seats, one must appreciate that essentially our votes remain around the same as it were in 2021. Our drop-off point was just about 600 and something votes based on the numbers that we have had. It means that we have been able to hold the base, and we appreciate that. In government, it means that we now have such a strong mandate that it is hard to deny that this is what the people of Tobago want. It means that for those who said, well, yeah, it was an anomaly, yeah, we were kind of upset with PNM, so we gave them a little chance. We're ready to go back to the way things were. They are waking up to realizing, no, not so fast. Tobagonians are insisting that this is what they want. Now that Tobagonians are insisting that this is what they want, what we very much expect is cooperation, collaboration between public officers, private sector, NGOs, civil society, in ensuring that we build out this greatest little island on the planet. It means that we have such a clear and strong mandate that we have every opportunity to move with these winds beneath our sails and to get Tobago to where it needs to be. I am a firm believer that Tobago has extremely positive potential. I believe that we have talent, we have capacity, we have intelligence, and I believe that for far too long we have settled for far less than what we are capable of achieving. It means certainly that there has to be transformation in terms of how we think, how we perceive things, and what we want. But we have to take Tobago to a place where perhaps at first some discomfort, but to the point where we realize that we are attaining something higher than and better than we have ever attained before. But we have to get to that place. It cannot be that we continue to govern the same way we have governed 45 years ago. It has to be Tobago being governed in such a manner that it meets the demands of 2026, that it makes Tobago competitive among all other small island states in the region, and that our people are globally competitive as well.
Understood. During the press conference on Friday, you indicated that because there is no minority in the House, you are putting systems in place to ensure transparency and accountability by allowing the public and even persons who did not vote for your administration to have or play a role in the governance process. How would that structure be built out? What would that look like?
Certainly, I'm glad you asked. On Thursday afternoon at 1:30, we have our first sitting, our first normal meeting of the House. The law says that within 15 days of the swearing in, that there must be a sitting of the House. So we're having that on Thursday afternoon at 1:30 p.m. We didn't want to stretch it out too long. And in that sitting, we will be amending several of our standing orders that will now allow for members of the public to be part and parcel of the operations of the Assembly Legislature. The Assembly Legislature is a place where we go and account for the people's business. And so, for example, we will amend the standing orders to allow persons to submit questions online. And once those questions receive a certain number of votes and they meet the requirements for a question in the House, because of course there are some basic rules that a question can't be slanderous, a question can't infer improper motive, a question, it must be factual, you can't ask a question based on something that is currently in the court. So once we meet those basic rules, the question will actually be asked and answered on the floor. We are also making provisions that members of the public can contribute to the motions and or bills that we debate in the House. We are amending the standing orders to allow that where there is no minority, that a member that is not a member of the Executive Council can in fact chair the Public Accounts Committee. We are amending the standing orders to allow for live broadcast of committee meetings and hearings. Fun fact, the Tobago House of Assembly now does not allow live broadcast of committee hearings in the way you see committees in the National Parliament are live on television. So we are going to make provisions to allow for that. We are also going to make provisions. Well, already yesterday the Senate passed, following what happened in the lower house, amendments to the T.H.A. Act. So now the quorum moves from 9 to 12, meaning that 12 members must be in the House at all times in order for a sitting to be legitimate. That's carrying the threshold even higher than it was before. Before it was just 9, which essentially means a minority of the members, the total membership of the House, could actually sit and make decisions for the House. And so that has now changed. The cap on the number of secretaries has changed, so that allows a granular approach to how divisions work. We had a situation where some divisions were just too large. Some divisions were reflective of even 4 or 5 ministries in Trinidad. And so what we want is to have a granular approach so that we can be more efficient in the delivery. And I must pause to thank the Prime Minister, because I made this request of the Prime Minister and the Attorney General essentially last week. As a matter of fact, as the election results were becoming clearer, I sent a WhatsApp message detailing what I would like to have, and the Attorney General that said evening was able to have it placed on the order paper. It was debated essentially Friday gone, passed in the lower house, passed in the Senate yesterday, and now they will send it to the president for it to be assented to. And those changes, 3 changes, it's one, no cap on the number of secretaries. But let me say that I have no intention of making everybody a secretary. 2, that there's a higher quorum for sitting in the House. And thirdly, the language is now gender neutral, meaning you're no longer referring to members as assemblymen or as an assemblyman, but as an assembly member, which means that for our women who are in the House, they are to no longer be referred to as an assemblyman, although they are a woman, which I think is empowering for the women in our society who wants language to reflect their very presence in the House. When the Tobago House of Assembly was going all the way back in 1776 or sometime there, I guess women did not have a role in a Tobago House of Assembly, and that did not quite change in Act 37 of 1980, nor did it change in Act 40 of 1996, but it was changed, and I must express gratitude to the Prime Minister for how swiftly the Cabinet and her government moved on this, which is a signal of their intention to move swiftly on our future proposals for greater autonomy for Tobago.
I'm glad that you touched on that. There was no opposition from the opposition when the bill was passed. The opposition leader, Penelope Beckles, did indicate that you and her had a conversation during the swearing-in ceremony. Does that mean that with greater communication, we can see the opposition supporting bills that are related to Tobago's development, specifically to Tobago's autonomy?
I very much indicate to communicate and have meetings with the opposition leader, with the Prime Minister. We cannot have the bills pass the Parliament without it being passed by a special majority. That means that we need support from the opposition, such a bill. In the past, the PNM Tobago always say, well, go and talk to your friends in the opposition. And of course, they were referring to the UNC at that time. I will talk to my friends on both sides of the aisle. Because at the end of the day, this issue must transcend political parties. We have already acquired a commitment from the government that this is something that they will do in this fiscal year. It's something that was in the blueprint that we intend to see if we could push through changes by the end of this calendar year, 2026. And then we give Tobago some time for us as an island to sit and work out what the structure and the function of the T.H.A will look and feel like. Because I'm adamant that certain things should not be done by the National Parliament. For example, the National Parliament shouldn't determine how many seats there are in Tobago House of Assembly. The National Parliament shouldn't determine the quorum or the number of secretaries. Those things should ideally happen here in Tobago, because you don't want a situation where as the politics evolves, as the population grows, that we now arrive at 100,000 people, we realize we need more seats. Somebody have to beg somebody in Port-of-Spain to change the law to give us more seats. That should be something we should do on our own accord as a people. That really and truly is what it means to have greater autonomy. That's really and truly what it means to have that right to self-determination. And so I'm grateful for the quick activation by the Prime Minister and the Cabinet, and for the support from the opposition. But certainly the larger piece of legislation will come by the end of the year. The intention is that with the coming on stream of a new division with responsibility for legal and intergovernmental affairs, that division will have legal draftsmen sit and draft a proposed bill that we will bring to the public in Tobago first, for us to haggle over it, ensure it's what we want, and then we send it down to the Parliament for the Cabinet to have passed through the Chief Parliamentary Counsel's office, and for them to do the necessary reviews and to take it to Parliament for a vote and to give the necessary constitutional change. So those are the steps we will essentially take. And we're hoping that we could get to that place by the end of this calendar year 2026.
But even before the Tobago Autonomy Bill is passed, as you indicated, there are a number of plans that you have put out there in the public through this blueprint that you said is integrated into that
strategic development
pathway for Tobago. And these are things that are going to happen in the short and medium term. You announced a number of things on the campaign trail. You spoke about the minimum wage moving to $5,500, $500 for new mothers, and Tobago going green. How soon can we see these things actually being implemented into the system?
We have started the process for many of these things, not most, but many of these things. So, for example, we have already gone to the place of beginning to institute a task force to treat with us going green and our green policy and treating with climate resilience. So, we have a task force working already on matters of productivity, and also doing the necessary HR audit and ensuring that we can put people in the right place. I could tell Tobagoans that as we are going through, we are seeing that we have BOAs, BOA 1s and so on, who might have degrees, masters, but you have been a clerk in accounts for forever. And you went and you studied another degree and nobody sees you. You're not getting to move anywhere. We're looking at how we can effortlessly reduce the underemployment and move people into the rightful places based on training and expertise. We have already begin formulating the policy and getting the system in place so T.H.A can provide the necessary data for the mothers and the children as they are born at the hospital, so that we can quickly begin the dispensing of that grant. And that's in addition to there being policies for community nurseries centers to allow for proper child care in the earliest age. That's in addition to also looking at that trust fund idea. That's in addition to us having necessary skills and training, and including training in parenting and all of those things. So we are anxious to get going. Of course, a lot of things will hinge on the full executive being formed. Yesterday, the President's office indicated that they are looking at Monday morning for the swearing in of secretaries right here in Tobago. And so we're working out the logistics of that as we speak. And as soon as the logistics are finalized, the public will know, of course, that will be broadcasted live. So the public can look forward to seeing that. And once secretaries are assigned, I will then speak to the public about to which divisions I'm assigning the secretaries and how we have realigned the government to ensure it fits in line with the strategic development pathway that is to take us all the way to 2045 and to ensure that we achieve the ultimate goal of the greatest island on the planet.
Understood. Well, when we come back, we're going to touch a bit on those secretarial appointments. Sure. But we're going to take a quick break right here and we'll be back after this. See you soon. Good morning and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. What you're seeing on our screen there is the traffic that's flowing from Wilson Road traffic light straight to Bishop's High School. And this morning we're seeing a relatively smooth flow of traffic there on the highway. And what you're seeing is the Pentecostal Light and Life area on the highway there. And there is a bit of a slow build-up happening going eastbound into Scarborough. So if you are getting into Scarborough this morning and you're coming down the Claude Noel Highway, we recommend that you take that Spring Garden traffic light and go down into Scarborough. That way, if you're trying to really get away from the traffic this morning, there's always that bit of pile-up happening by the Bishop's walk over. We know on a morning during this time there's a bit of a pile up there, so you see it on our screen. If you are trying to get away from that traffic and you're heading into Scarborough, we highly recommend that you take the traffic light by the gas station there at Spring Garden and make your way into Scarborough. So that's what we're seeing there, a steady movement going to west. So if you are heading westbound, there's a steady flow of traffic there, so you should have no problems getting to your destination this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, we jump right back into our conversation, and again we are chatting with the newly minted Chief Secretary.
And can we continue on the traffic? Because this morning I took the route through Lambo, or the old road as we call it,
Right.
as we call it. But this speaks to one of the reasons why in the blueprint we spoke about how we're going to manage traffic, how we're going to manage the interchanges to allow for a free flow of traffic out of Scarborough and into Scarborough, because this will continue to accelerate. It will get worse over time. More and more people are buying vehicles, especially as vehicles become more affordable, or attainable rather, not necessarily affordable. And given the change in policy when it comes to foreign use cars, that will increase. So we have to do some future planning. That interchange that's been proposed from where that is, Sansazil, I'm going across the highway and so on. That is absolutely needed. Sometimes on mornings the traffic coming from north, and I know you tend to show east to west to east, but I would hope that sometimes you will catch the traffic coming out from north, which is coming out from by where Massey's there, coming out from the Mason Hall Government House Road. Some of that traffic piles up from Rockleyville traffic light all the way back for a good distance. So it's something that we have to look at and make some investments in if we are to keep Scarborough as a breathable city, a walkable city, a traffic-friendly city, a people-friendly city. We will certainly need to do some adjustments in terms of traffic management and have the necessary infrastructure. But just looking at these shots, isn't Tobago beautiful?
Excellent. I was about to say the same thing. And I'm glad that we got some assistance with the traffic report this morning from the Chief Secretary.
I think I could get a little higher walking.
Correct. Correct. Well, we want to jump straight into those secretarial appointments. Everyone is sitting at the edge of their seats waiting to hear who is going where. You indicated that you have no intention of making everyone secretary, but you also stated during the campaign trail while you was picking nominees that no district belongs to any person. No one owns a seat. Is it the same for the division? Can you say that no one owns a division?
I can say confidently no one owns a division. And let me be clear, not making everyone a secretary does not mean that everyone on the team doesn't have the capacity to be a secretary. We had the most stringent, the most robust, the most hectic, the most complex screening process in order to determine the candidates. And so what I am confident is that I have a team of 15 that anyone could be a secretary. But we have to be mindful of budget. We have to be mindful of efficiency. And we're not trying to spread ourselves too thin, but at the same time, we're going for a granular approach. And yes, when I say no one owns a division, it means that one might be a secretary of a particular division in the last term, but it may just be a secretary of a different division in this term. I'm confident that people will serve where they are placed, and that people will serve well where they are placed. I am also instituting our own performance appraisal mechanism to judge and assess how secretaries are performing, because at the end of the day, you and the public will judge me based on how the entire team performs. I must then hold the entire team to account to the extent that they perform. And when I say perform, I mean that I expect performance notwithstanding challenges that will arise, notwithstanding systemic flaws that exist. and looking at how secretaries are able to get past these challenges and yet be able to deliver to the people of Tobago.
Understood. Can you give us any hints? Can you tell us anything that we can look forward to? I mean, there are individuals who persons are just expecting to be placed in certain places. You know, for me particularly, I could say I'm expecting to see Dr. Fate go back to health. I'm expecting to see Natisha go back to food security. So can you confirm or deny any of these suspicions?
I would simply say that your expectations may lead to you being surprised. Okay. As I said, we have teams, we have people that are quite multifaceted. We have people who have 2 and 3 degrees in different areas. We have people who have worked in 2 and 3 different places. We have people who just have good management skills. At the end of the day, a secretary is called to have good management skills, not even to necessarily be a subject matter expert in the area that they are leading, but to have good management skills. And I'll just give an example. I placed Assistant Secretary Kerr across our settlement. Kerr never worked in projects, in engineering. I don't know if Kerr ever built a house himself, but or even worked in public utilities. I know Kerr as a teacher. Kerr taught my wife in primary school. Kerr was a teacher colleague. He taught at Roxburgh Secondary, where I taught at Speyside High. That's all I know for Kerr. But look at Kerr's role in terms of how we manage some of our public utilities. How that simple project of how he rejuvenated the bus sheds and start getting in terms of efficiency for public transport. So in other words, what is really required for a secretary is the management skills.
He was also the tutor rep for Tobago.
He was the tutor rep.
So
one would think that the only thing he should really do is education.
Right.
But the truth is, once you are a good manager of people, of assets, of resources, of time, of talents, then you will do well in any division, notwithstanding the level of expertise. I am certainly not an expert in every area, but there is hardly a question that can be asked of me of any of the 33 plus areas in the 5th schedule that I cannot fluently, in the most articulate manner, share with you what the government's position is and what needs to happen based on what Tobagonians have been saying to us they want. So it really calls for people to become conversant with the area and to be good managers of people, good managers of resources, good managers of time, good managers of talents, and being able to bring all of those things together for the benefit of the people of Tobago.
Understood. Social media has been abuzz with questions as it pertains to the appointment of councillors that we saw happening last week. We saw the return of Councillor Petala Roberts, and we saw
two new
councillors being appointed as well. Persons were saying, okay, because there's a legal unit being built out in the T.H.A, they can understand the appointment of a legal professional. But persons are questioning the appointment of Mr. Franklin, saying, this is your friend. Did you put your friend before other possible persons, because you indicated that there were other persons that were being considered. You transparently said Abby Taylor as well as Natasha and Natasha second. So what would have been the reason for choosing him in terms of his expertise over these women?
Well, one, I believe that there must be parity when it comes to a geographical spread. I will not be Chief Secretary of Tobago and have the opportunity to appoint 3 councillors, and all 3 councillors come from Tobago West. It will not happen ever once I am Chief Secretary. Secondly, the authority to appoint councillors rests solely with the Chief Secretary, and it does not require my consultation with anybody else. I make that decision. Thirdly, Mr. Franklin is coming to the table with much more experience in community work than many people on the team I now lead, who are even elected members, who has been more involved in youth work, been more involved in community sports, been involved in community development work, much more than many others. Mr. Franklin's training and expertise really rests in mechanical engineering, but I brought him to the team for what he possessed beyond that, beyond what he knows in mechanical engineering, particularly the fact that Mr. Franklin might be one of the best trained when it comes to electric cars operations on the island, barring none. I'm not just saying that because it's somebody I know well. I'm saying that because I'm very much aware of his training and expertise in that regard. But beyond that, what he brings to the table in terms of community development, community work, experience in working with young people, I think was needed on the team. In addition to which, I felt like one of the councillors must come from someone who still operates in the East. I'm not talking about living in the East. I'm talking about whose life work exists in Tobago East, deep Tobago East, because it can't be that we have a situation where every time we form a government, that all the councillors come from the West. The last time around, the councillor from the East was Mr. Orlando Kerr from the East. So it's consistent with how I have selected councilorships.
Understood. And touching back a bit on the secretarial appointments, can you, I know you don't want to let too much out before Monday, but can you tell us how many divisions we might see moving from the number that we have now? What are the plans in terms of that expansion to ensure parity between the different areas that need focus on? And would there be new structures within the division? For example, might a sport unit be moved from community development and placed under another division? Can you tell us anything about that?
Right, sure. So my intention at this point is Chief Secretary, Deputy Chief Secretary, and to not go beyond 11 other secretaries. Yes, there will be some structural shifts. Sorry, as I said, we are looking at the strategic development pathway, and we are looking at how we can align the divisions to meet the pathway's expectations and what we have to achieve between now and 2045. So that will indeed result in some shifts. Beyond what you will see happen in legal, I can tell you that there will be a brand new standalone division that will have responsibility for planning, strategic planning and development. So that has not happened before. Previously, that would just be a department under the Office of the Chief Secretary. But we're talking about a standalone division that treats with everything from PRDI to spatial planning, to town and country planning, to looking at how communities are structured, to looking at our very large projects or mega projects on island and having those planned, looking at some of our strategic investments or pull for investments on the island as well. So that's another new division that you will see. Certainly what will happen is that immediately after appointing the secretaries, I will speak to Tobagonians and detail those divisions and detail who will be placed where. It's important to understand that the president does not appoint one to a division. The president only gives the instrument of appointment as a secretary. That's it. It's the chief secretary's full prerogative, without needing to go to the president to do it, to assign these secretaries when appointed and assistant secretaries when appointed to whichever division he deems necessary for the deliveries that are required.
Understood. Well, we're going to take a quick break right here, and we'll be back with much more conversation after this. We'll be touching on a number of topics. Hopefully, we have sufficient time talking a bit about, teachers, their salary, and when can teachers see that being implemented, and what is the role of the Tobago People's Party moving forward after this 15-0 victory. Guys, I'll see you soon after this break. People strong, and the vibes is never wrong. We are beauty, we are power, we are people. We are you and you are me. Together we strong. Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. What you're seeing there is the traffic on the Claude Noel Highway, but you're looking at the Rockley Vale traffic lights. As you see, a smooth flow of traffic, and that could tell you that persons are already in work and at school. So the highway is a bit clear. So if you are traversing, whether you're going eastbound or westbound, the roads are clear by now. So we get back into our conversation, and we round up our discussions this morning. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to ask all the questions that we want to ask, but we want to touch on a couple quick topics. Sure. The teachers. Yesterday, a new tutor representative for Tobago has been installed, and one of those key issues has been teachers receiving that new salary that was negotiated last year. Can you see yourself meeting with teachers with the tutor Tobago officer soon to discuss the topic? What can you tell them in terms of your advocacy at the central government level for Tobago teachers? And in addition to that, Tobago is expecting a new cargo vessel in the Blue Wave Harmony. How soon can we see that being here in Tobago?
In terms of teachers, of course, as a matter between the CPO, the union, and the Ministry of Finance, certainly the advocacy will happen through our members of parliament, East and West. I want to congratulate the new tutor Tobago rep. I think he will do a fantastic job. He's needed in this space, and certainly meetings will happen. As a matter of fact, I can tell you Friday this week, I'm not sure, I'll have to check and see if there's a tutor rep there, but Friday this week, the Division of Education is meeting with PTSC, because we're discussing the MOU and how we can finally clean up the operations for the maxi taxis that transport our school students and ensure that's a much more efficient process, so the drivers are not paid late and all of that, and that the monitoring is happening efficiently. But we welcome the new tutor rep, and the incoming Secretary of Education will certainly be happy to meet with him and to work with him. With regards to Blue Wave Harmony, I mean, we have just been having blue waves all around, but the Blue Wave Harmony, we were told sometime yesterday or so that he was expecting the country by tomorrow afternoon. I am now advised that it's just passing Barbados as we speak, and is expected in the port of Port-of-Spain by 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. There is a team on the port in Scarborough today. They have already done their checks in Port-of-Spain, but there's a team on the port in Scarborough today to ensure that the port here is ready and that all of the mechanics and logistics are in place to receive that vessel. I want to thank Minister Julian John for her push. When she came in June last year and met with the stakeholders were very clear in what they wanted, and she tried to go above and beyond the scope provided by the stakeholders. So, for example, we can expect a vessel with much more than five cabins available to the truckers. Trucking is an important profession. In some countries, truckers have limitations in the number of hours they can drive and all of that. You don't want a trucker that's trying to bring goods up on the boat, make a quick turnaround, catch back the boat, go back to Port-of-Spain and repeat, not having the opportunity to rest efficiently. So having a cleaner, much more modern interior vessel will reduce the stress intake for our truckers and those who use that facility, and of course it will be able to accommodate much more passengers. So for those who prefer to take the late night sailing from Tobago and get into Port-of-Spain, as we say, 4-day morning, and be able to do work and then take a vessel back at 4 p.m. and be back in Tobago, only missing 1 day of work, that helps with our productivity on island. So we really commend the government for its move, but it's expected in the country by 8 a.m. tomorrow thereabouts, and certainly I am looking forward to seeing the vessel. I promised Minister John that I will come to Port of Spain and I will sail up on the vessel. Mm-hmm. So I will take the long sailing up. So I'm not going to just take their word for it that it's a good vessel, but I will want to utilize it just to ensure that my people are getting what they justly deserve. And again, I must say thanks to Minister John and the Prime Minister and the Cabinet for what they have put in terms of that vessel and how quickly they moved. And of course, our MPs that double down on the advocacy there in Port of Spain.
Understood. And even as we wrap up this discussion this morning, we want to end on a note of the Tobago People's Party. What is the future of the party given this 15-0 victory? There has been chattering in the space about possible restructuring of the party's constitution. Is there any merit to those conversations? Well, and if so, why is it that after this victory
I don't know that the constitution is going to be restructured. As it is now, the constitution we have facilitates democracy at the highest level. We're confident in that, and there is a process for amending the constitution, and that process will have to be followed if some so desire. There should be, I believe, elections this year and the next year, because we have a sort of two-tier system in terms of how we change out the executive. And certainly one can look forward to that and look at what that will result in. But I believe we have a strong party. We are young. We are certainly not a very old party, but we are a work in progress, and we are working towards building out the best, the strongest, the most democratic political institution in the entire Caribbean. That is our objective. And so we'll keep building, building and refining. We do have committed members of the executive, committed party members. We have some disciplined members, some indisciplined members, but that comes with the territory. But we're working with our people. This is Tobago People's Party. It's a party that belongs to the people of Tobago at the end of the day. And I'm so happy that I'm part of a political institution that I am not the owner of. That the symbol is not registered in my name, is not belonging to me. That the constitution says that the party says that the symbol and all intellectual property belonging to the party does not belong to any individual, but that it belongs to the people of Tobago. I am so happy that I'm a part of that kind of institution, and more so, I'm a part of a political institution that was birthed right here at Shaw Park, Scarborough, Tobago. This was not birthed in any fancy house anywhere in Port of Spain. That our headquarters is not in Port of Spain or in Central or South Trinidad, but it's in Tobago. It's an indigenous political institution that for the very first time in the 45 years we have had a modern Tobago House of Assembly, we have an assembly with 0 PNM in it. I want you to pay attention to that. For the first time in the history of the modern T.H.A, we have a T.H.A with 0 PNM in it, all rooted out by the TPP. And it is very much my objective, for as long as I have health and strength and God gives me the opportunity to lead on this island, to ensure that, if anything, other indigenous parties will pop up. But we really and truly should have a political space where the only contenders are indigenous political parties. No implants from Trinidad whatsoever. And then we know that we're truly ready for this thing called autonomy. I think Tobagonians, with this resounding victory, for which I'm extremely thankful for, and you can look out for our Thanksgiving service and us giving thanks through praise and worship to God on Saturday evening. The youngsters in the party are insistent on doing a victory on Sunday, so that will come after the Thanksgiving. But I think most important for me, certainly as political leader, is that we give thanks to God, and that will happen on Saturday evening. Look out for all the notices and come out and participate. Have safe fun for those who will wish to participate in the activities on Sunday during the day. Have safe fun, and let's continue to work hand in hand in building out the greatest little island on the planet. One more piece of update I must absolutely give. This came to my attention yesterday evening, and up to after 1 this morning, I was having a conversation with the Prime Minister about it. The Trinidad and Tobago is expecting an official visit from Her Excellency Noura Al-Kabi, which is Minister of State at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the United Arab Emirates. And the UAE has a large contingent of ministers and public officers that will be visiting the country from Friday. And the government, and again I'm thanking the Prime Minister and the Cabinet for deciding to do this. The government is allowing and asking Tobago to be hosts on Sunday to the contingent. Of course, you may have seen Minister Jillian John traveling the world, trying to attract foreign direct investment for the country. They are returning the visit to Trinidad and Tobago, but they're also coming to Tobago. And certainly they will receive the best of Tobago hospitality. They will see if there is anything in Tobago that is worthy of their investment. And certainly I want Tobagonians to know this. So certainly when you see the Chief Secretarial government officials with what will obviously be visitors, you know what's happening, and you don't think that there's anything nefarious that's happening. Right. And we are grateful that Tobago is part of the plans. And that's one of the reasons why I'm rushing out to, because right. we'll have significant security measures to put in place. We will also have to have this schedule done down to the 2nd. And of course, we'll have to work everything out from ensuring it tastes some good Tobago sweet hand, and seeing the best of the island in the day that they have here in Tobago.
Understood. Well, we know that you're rushing and you have to head out, and we look forward to presentations regarding that marina for Tobago, and hopefully getting the funding needed for those other projects that were announced, specifically Tobago going green.
Yes.
And hoping that we can implement some of those strategies being used within the UEA, and finally getting access to those foreign direct investments.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we have come to the end of our discussion here this morning, and we are going to release the Chief Secretary. As he's indicated, it's a totally new season. I call it Chief Secretary 2.0, and he's definitely going to be on time this morning for his next meeting. So again, we want to thank you for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you so much for your likes, your shares and comments, and all that you have been doing and continue to do to make Tobago Updates the #1 broadcaster here on the island of Tobago. Again, I am Shenell Felix, and have a wonderful day.